As we move forward now, we want to invite Miss Lisa Perch to introduce her panel and to discuss women entrepreneurs finding opportunities where others see problems. Over to Lisa Perch.
On mute, Lisa, on mute.
I just realized. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here, and thank you so much, Marcia, for inviting me to moderate this panel. I'll speak a lot less, and hopefully the ladies will be able to share experiences. So the focus, as Dr. John would have said, is looking at really the experience of ladypreneurs and how they have been surviving the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges, but as well as the opportunities that it would have brought to their businesses. Hopefully, they would already be doing some of the things that Mr. Patterson suggests. Certainly, as a new business person myself, I took down copious notes. And so I'm hoping that they will be able to also reflect a little bit on what he's mentioned. But also, I think it's going to be important for them to share what kind of skills, what kind of other skills do you need to bring to the table? Don't get me wrong, the taxes are important, and so are the liabilities and the assets. But the key asset, I think, for any business is also the person who had the idea and who has the skills. And I'm hoping that Mr. Patterson would agree with me. And so how we manage those assets are also quite important in terms not only of the economics, but also the social, and also how we manage the environment around us. With us today, we have four incredible entrepreneurs. We have Mrs. Roberta Williams from Antigua and Barbuda. We have Sharian Boyce from Barbados, where I'm also based. We have Samantha Chopra from Guyana, and we have Anastasia Elliott from St. Kitts and Nevis. The focus, really, we're going to try to focus today, really we'll be looking at how they have managed to balance finances, family, the business, and other challenges, and really what kinds of lessons they think they can share with you in terms of how they've managed to navigate this space and what they're thinking about in terms of going into 2021. COVID is going to be with us for a little while. And so we're hoping that also some of the ideas and some of the challenges that they share could also help in the discussions with the group. And maybe some of you will also be able to share with them some of the things that you've done. Let me just briefly introduce, therefore then, Roberta, who I'm gonna ask to speak first, if she doesn't mind. I see Roberta's already set up, the camera's already ready to go. Roberta holds an MSc in Plant and Soil Sciences from the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, USA. She's retired, and she has 27 years of experience as a founding member and administrator of a nonprofit, a non-governmental organization called the Gilbert Agricultural and Rural Development Center in Antigua and Barbuda. The organization focuses on vocational skills for women and vulnerable youth, providing holistic training experiences to prepare them for jobs and or entrepreneurial ventures. Roberta has a lot of experience in agriculture. She worked in the ministry for about 10 years, and she has experience in research, project and program planning, community development, and youth entrepreneurship. So Roberta, I ask you to take it away and share with us some insights on COVID-19, managing business, finances, family, and the challenges. You have about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. Well, let me just start off saying that the planning and the construction of partnership business, which is called Seasons Hydroponic Lettuce Farm, we launched it right in the middle of when COVID-19 started to strike Antigua and Barbuda in March. This, of course, opened up some very interesting challenges. By March, we were ready to construct the unit that would have produced up to 800 heads of lettuce per week. The restrictions and curfew started. Planes stopped coming. They stopped bringing tourists. They stopped bringing supplies. Even mail stopped coming. These restrictions, of course, kept us from further construction. We had to stop. And this was a very frustrating time, but we realized we just had to wait and see how things were going to develop. As the restrictions began to change for certain sectors, particularly the agricultural sector, farmers were allowed to spend more time on their farms And so we were able to continue construction. By June, we were ready to start producing. Producing in the midst of all the hotels being closed, restaurants, which would have been one of our biggest clients at that time. We launched out in faith, not knowing what was going to happen from one week to another. But God is good. Our family members got into action. Our children who had skills in communication, photography, and all kinds of things, set up our Facebook page, spread the word to all their contacts. We had two important resources, human and financial. Our human resource was in a farmer, an aquaponics farmer, who was willing to share his experiences and expertise in growing lettuce hydroponically. Even more of a blessing, he offered to design and build our unit. Well, we of course jumped on that. I have to say that when we saw it finished, and many other persons agreed that it was a masterpiece of work. We also had access to an extension officer who was trained in hydroponics. Unfortunately, never had the opportunity to use those skills with the Ministry of Agriculture, but we found him. He actually had worked firsthand on a hydroponic farm. I believe it was in Venezuela. He, however, structured all our nutrient program, which of course is critical in the hydroponic technology. Our other important resource was finance. Now, with two partners being retired, one receiving a small pension, the other getting nothing yet, and the third partner unemployed, the question is, how are we going to manage to make this investment? Well, more blessings. I had land. My partners had some family funds put away, and we all put in some personal funds. We started on the wings of prayer. Individually, we couldn't have done it by ourselves. This partnership put us on a road of a very exciting path, a business venture that has much potential for expansion and for diversification. Hotels and restaurants are opening now. Supermarkets are in full operation, and individual consumers are extremely pleased with our product, are singing the praises and spreading the word. We have actually become an attraction for people who want to see these three white-haired ladies in operation. Our major challenges outside of COVID has been the hurricane season. Although we've been blessed with not getting any direct hits, we have received some of the storms that brought heavy rains and winds. In addition to that, we've had at least 2 months of a tremendous heat wave that actually seriously affected our crop. And for the first time, we had to start discarding our production, which I can't tell you how that hurt. But as we heard the first speaker say, quality is critical. And so we had to dump a lot of things. But we did notice that there were some lettuce heads that were misshapen, had beautiful leaves. We couldn't sell them as individual heads. We decided to strip the leaves and bag them. And what a thing happened. We sold some and they sold like hotcakes. Supermarkets are now asking us for this product. So we actually ended up being creative and setting up another product that we are going to have online. We are now networking with several of the hydroponic farmers that we have in the island, who I'm very proud to say are willing to share ideas and even markets. COVID-19 has brought a number of us in the agricultural sector together, which is a very positive thing. And it has also created more interest, concern, and most importantly, passion in becoming self-sufficient in what we eat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roberta. That was great. I think that you've brought so many important issues to the table, and we'll be discussing those a little bit more when we have our interactive discussion. I kind of think I know why Marcia asked me to do this panel. I work a lot in climate disasters and gender and etc. So I've got lots of things I can think about. I'd like to then invite Sharian Boyce, who is based in Barbados and who runs Hello Natural, to also share with her some of her experiences in 5 minutes. And also to, you know, and hopefully she will also complement, I'm sure, some of what Roberta has said. Over to you, and off you go, Sharian. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for this opportunity. COVID, let's be honest, COVID was a scary, scary, scary time. No one expected it. It came, and honestly, I didn't know what to do with my business. I had a home-based business for about 2 years, and when everything shut down, my husband works in tourism. His job went completely, so how do we survive? And at that time, being really scared, it forced me to start to think outside of the box. I've spent 25 years as a laboratory technologist, and how do I respond? One of the things that I started doing at the time, even though it was not a part of my business model, was making hand sanitizers. And could I tell you that those hand sanitizers were able to feed my family when the shutdown occurred, with my husband not having any job and we not having the income that we had before, that was able to feed us. And I'm thankful for that, because with that, I had to say to myself, you know what, how do I get outside of the box? How do I keep my business running? And it forced me, one of the things it did was that for a long time, I was toying with a website. I couldn't get the colors right. I couldn't get the pictures right. But then persons still wanted the products during lockdown. How do I keep my product, present in person's face? We were able to do a website in less than 24 hours. Well, the website was not perfect. It enabled our products to be constantly in the faces of customers. So that allowed us, to keep finances going and to keep the business relevant and to keep it ever present in front of the person's eyes. What that also did for us is that allowed us to go cashless. We were able to work with our bankers, where we were able to have a mobile machine. So that way we were able to adhere to the COVID protocols without the exchange of money. Persons went on the site, they were able to make their purchases, we were able to do it cashless. They came, they picked up, and the business kept running. With that, we were able to increase our customer base. With persons having access to the website before, when they would want one item, they were ordering more items, and that was really great for us. We also had to, during that time, was diversify our product offerings. While my business was based on neem skin therapy, which is a product we did for eczema, we had to make sure that our products were what customers wanted. Customers wanted products that were relevant, and they wanted simple cosmetics. With that, we were able to implement a four-step skincare line where ladies at home, gents too as well, they can have more time to focus on their skin. And that took off tremendously. So that was really great for us. With that, we were able to supply the family with our needs, and we were able to move to a new location. So we're no longer a home-based business now. We actually have a rented building where we're able to expand, and that was really, really, really great for us. Out of COVID too, it forced us to do lots of collaborations with companies and small businesses that we didn't even know we can do collabs with. We were able to complement some products that other people were offering, and we also tried very hard to become very human with our interactions. We did lots of collabs with the hospitals when it came to hand sanitizers, and to our soaps too as well. We did collabs with nurseries where we give free hand sanitizers. We did lots of webinars where we would have gone through skincare. I'm getting the feedback now. Where we would have gone through skincare. So for COVID, it was able to stretch me in places that I didn't know existed, in directions I didn't know was possible. So even though it was a challenging time, I will say for us, we were able to take the bull by the horn and really grow our business during this time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very, very much, Sharian. Again, very complimentary, I think, in terms of experiences to what Roberta shared, but also you were able to highlight how COVID presented you with challenges, but also stimulated some incredible innovation. I think I really liked how you were talking about going cashless, but also the collaborations and the new partnerships that you didn't even know you could have that also were generated from this. So fantastic. Want to hear more? I think I'm gonna have to talk to you ladies off of this thing. So very nice to meet you, and I'm really very happy to hear some of these stories. Samantha, I'm gonna ask you to speak next and to tell us a little bit about Trifinity Solutions and some of your experiences during COVID, and what some of the things that you think will be important to share with the audience here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, yes.
Yes,
Okay, good.
we can.
Yes. So my name is Samantha Chopra, and I'm a system developer from Guyana. And I ran a small business, a small local tech business called Trifinity Solutions. And our aim is basically to transform idea into solutions in several ways, in digital marketing, media solution, and education. During COVID-19, when the pandemic hit, I had a mental breakdown in the first stage of it, and I didn't know what to do. I disconnect from everybody because I felt everything. I felt everything at that point, and I disconnect from everyone. And I spent about 3 or 4 days by myself thinking, what can I do with my business, and how can I go forward with my business partners as well? Because at that time it felt like I had most of the responsibility of taking care of everybody else, but more so myself. And when I looked deeper inside, I noticed that I wasn't doing something wrong. I was doing something that was not healthy, that was not right for me at the same time, but it was not right for everybody else. So I picked up myself and I said, you know what? I'm going to start taking care of myself first. I'm going to start with myself. And then I started with myself, and then I started with everyone else around me in the company. And I noticed that there was tremendous growth. There were ideas and there were things that I couldn't have done in the last 4 years. I got it done. I applied for an IDB grant. I did not get through with it. I applied for many more other grants. I did not get through for it. I had a Twitter interview as well. I did not get through for it. Tomorrow, I'm going to be pitching at the Global Investment Summit. I'm hoping that works out well for our company, because it's an idea of a digital ecosystem that we have been working for the last 4 years to end poverty and reduce youth unemployment and also inequality in Guyana. And I must say, it has been a process that helped me and some of my team members to also find themselves in the process and to also build more meaningful for others out there. And we understand that there's a lot of persons who have lost their jobs, and they have lost so much during this pandemic. And through our business, we were able to help persons in one area, help them to get their business online. We have noticed that a lot of people came to us during this time. We had more business than usual, more meetings with clients as well. So managing that for each one of us was quite a challenge too. And we had to deal with more innovation and more creativity in this time. So we started up an education program called the Guyana Digital Innovation Program, which we work with young people to help them to develop relevant digital skills. And that have been a success for us because we had over 30 students who we were working with over the August holiday. And the students, they were very, very happy to be part of it because it gave them a chance to take their mind off of the stress that was happening around their environment. And it's also give them a chance to learn something new that they can use, that they can go out and create with. And most importantly, I keep reminding persons who we come into contact with that, the pandemic should not be looked or seen as a struggle. We should look for opportunities out of the pandemic to grow and to improve ourselves. We should not make this pandemic break us, but it should help to mold us, because from the time it hit, it started molding me without me even knowing it. And then I started to grow some of my ideas through the pandemic and have them executed through the pandemic. And this is something that I've put off for almost 4 years. And I always say, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, this didn't happen, this is not right. The kind of perfectionist type of thing. And we have an app now called Icaneer that has information for small business to access so that they can look at whatever challenges that they're facing. You can download the app on Google Play as well. We also have a web portal where persons can register their CV to help them to find jobs during the pandemic as well. And a Facebook page, Icaneer, where persons have been constantly sending their CVs and sending their resume and so forth. This have basically held us. Over one weekend, we have received over 1,000 applications to process and to help persons to find meaningful opportunities within their capacity. Now, we are basically looking for companies who are willing to hire these persons at home, who are willing to help out in the pandemic so that persons can be able to earn at least some level amount of money to survive. And once I start seeing all of these happening and we start planning for more and more and more opportunities that are available, the pandemic has definitely opened my eyes to even more development of some of our ideas and some of our visions that we are working with. So I wouldn't say that, it was all terrible. In some cases, there are days when there are things that I couldn't understand, but then there are days when there are things that I had to put myself in the corner and say, well, you know what? I need to create solutions that will help people. I need to create something that will alleviate this kind of problem that is happening. And that is what I set out to do, because from the inception, I kept preaching this mantra that the pandemic is the hotbed for innovation. And I believe that as gospel truth because I've been living it for the past couple months, and I've tried my very best to be there for persons as well as much as possible. There are people who would come through our page saying that, oh, we don't have food, we don't have basic food supply. And in the middle of doing all of this and executing programs, I have been traveling to communities, putting my life at risk as well, to some level, to make sure that there are healthcare and also food supply distributed to communities. Um, and I wanted to
Sorry to
say
interrupt,
to,
Samantha.
yeah,
30 seconds.
no problem. I wanted to say in the final is that whenever you're going through anything difficult, know that there's something great that is about to happen. And out of this pandemic, I've grown to be a champion, and I believe every one of you entrepreneur can grow out of this as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I think that it was impressive how you were able to move on and to pivot for what seemed like a very challenging start and experience in the pandemic. I'll get back to that a little bit. I just want to give Anastasia the opportunity to share a little of her story. I've already got my time warning from Dr. John. So Anastasia, 5 minutes, and then we'll have just a very quick, exchange, I think, on pivots, and then also see if we can have at least a couple of questions where you can respond to the audience. Thank you very much. Anastasia, over to you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Is everyone hearing me?
Yes, please.
Yes, we are. Good morning.
Good morning. As Lisa said, my name is Anastasia Elliott. I'm from St. Kitts. I am co-founder of Sugartown Organics, which we started in 2010, thereabouts. Hello?
Yes, keep going.
I'm still hearing you.
Okay. All right. I know someone earlier was asking about a case study from someone who started zero, and I could help with that a bit. I started with like $100. I launched a bake sale, which ran for 4 years. The initial goal of the bake sale was basically to raise money to pay off a medical bill, and it became something that I looked at as a way to raise money to start my core business, which is what I have now. I ended up developing it into a bespoke bake shop and ice cream parlor, and it was an amazing journey. It taught me a lot because there was a whole lot that I didn't know. Finance, managing money, and all the different things that you had to go through in terms of taxes and business license and all those things that were missing in my ecosystem. Because here you have to go to this place for this and then go back to that place for that and that place for that. And so it's not very easy to find information. So for me, doing that bake sale sort of taught me what I needed to know early on. And it also helped me not to waste a lot of money, because I didn't have money at the time. So I had to do all the walking and all the talking and figuring things out on my own. Shortly along the way, I think I came across Dr. Brandon to the SIBO project. And that sort of set me on a different path in terms of learning, in terms of capacity building, in terms of getting me where I wanted to be. It was a hard journey, I would tell you, having no money. I had lost my savings when Clico debacle happened, so all my savings were gone. So I had no savings to fall back on. And I think that whole episode sort of made me stronger. So that when COVID came around, I didn't panic, as a lot of people did, because I had gone through something similar where I lost everything, I just fell back on the training that I had from Dr. Brandon and from Telly, who I think you guys are going to hear from later in the day, about pivoting, not being afraid to pivot and looking at the market to see what was needed at the time. Right from the get-go, when we heard about the shutdown and there was this whole thing with toilet paper and hand sanitizers, and people couldn't find hand sanitizers, we just jumped right into making hand sanitizers for the factories. We did it for the factories. We did it for some of the special education schools, stuff like that. And that's sort of helped me to raise money to take us through that whole lockdown period, being able to buy food and everything else that we needed. Because like with everything closed, our income went from like 100% down to like 10%, right? And so we really needed to figure out a way, but not panic while we were doing it. And then we had the kids home, not sure about school. And so it was really a period where we sort of looked not just at the business, but at the family as well. And we just started doing what we do best, I guess, to survive, right? You start teaching the children at home. My mom really took up that mantle. We started teaching them history of the island and things that they would learn in school, but wasn't able to do because no school was on. And so we were able to come through that period. I also used that period as a way to look at the business and to see how I could move beyond where we were. There were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I was spreading out over the year, thinking I had time. And because COVID sort of forced me into this space where it was just time I had on my hands. I was able to roll out a lot of those new products that I had sitting on right away. And so right now we have maybe like 4 or 5 new products on the market that are doing really well. And because I did that, it sort of pushed our income like back from that 10% up to maybe 30-40% now, right? So even though everything is still closed, we're still bringing in some money because I was able to push out those new stuff and started do new things that customers been asking for that I've been waiting on because I've been trying to get it perfect, right? And it sort of made me think that, you know, Anna, you've been learning all these things and you're not putting everything that you've been learning into practice, you know, because you learn that don't wait for it to be perfect, just get to the basic and then put it out and let your customers help you get it to where you need it to be. And so COVID has really been one of those experiences where you learn to refocus, that refocus you. It's been stressful, it's been hard, it's been some days where you're kind of shaky, you know, you're not sure what's going to happen. But I would say it's been a strength builder. It's been something that's led me to make the business stronger, right? How to start to bring everything closer in, even in terms of where we source material for, instead of trying to order stuff and make stuff in-house. That's also elevated the value of our brands as well, because now we could say that we do 80% house, and you know it's sort of bring a lot of value back to the business, back to the brand. So it's been amazing, even though it's been so stressful. This whole COVID experience.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. There's a question for you already. What are the popular products that are now in high demand?
A vitamin C serum, which is this beauty right here.
Show us?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay, great. So it's a serum, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of the products that's now in high demand.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Anastasia.
You're welcome.
Certainly from my part, I'm just in awe and totally inspired. You know, I'm a consultant in my day job, and in my night job, which Marcia knows, I make jewelry. Haven't touched anything for a while. So I'm hoping that I'm now going to kickstart and get back to doing some jewelry making. You know, it's very good therapeutically. Consulting is very stressful, actually. I love it, but it's very stressful. You know, income flows are definitely not the easiest thing when you're a consultant. So I totally appreciate and feel what you're talking about, but I'm still inspired by the innovations. I mean, I as a person who works a lot in adaptation, I am always kind of like not the biggest fan of forced adaptation, because sometimes you can over adapt and lose the capacity, but it seems that you guys have managed to find a good balance. And so you've taken the opportunity. I'm inspired by the fact that you have also leveraged past experiences, not so good, as Anastasia pointed out, but we're able to leverage it and, you know, have certainly strengthened her resilience in this time. Same with Samantha. Samantha, I really am appreciative of the fact that you were able to share with us so honestly about your mental challenges, but also the way that you found a way through. And I think it's important for us to understand that COVID is not just bringing economic challenges and social challenges, it also is going to affect all of us psychosocially. And our mental health is something that we really do need to pay attention to. And it goes back to my first point about the asset, and that the key asset for a small business is you, the person with the business idea, the creator, and the generator or generators. Roberta, I think Roberta's story was inspiring to let us know that even after retirement, we can still be innovative. And I do love how her creativity seemed to come from so many ways, including how they manage their assets, both the financial and non-financial, who had the land, who was able to look at some money resources. So ladies, a quick share through about any key lessons you think or ideas you want to share with everybody about pivots. I think Anastasia ended us off nicely on that. What would you want to say to the group here about pivoting, the good and the bad? And then I'll leave a couple of minutes for questions before Dr. John wraps me on my knuckles, as it were. I see him looking and he's already warned me. So any things you would like to add on pivots and pivoting to share with the audience? Because I think that is really definitely one of the things that comes through from your story.
I think for me, it would just be don't be afraid. Change is scary, yes, but sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes for us to survive it is a must. So don't be afraid of pivoting. Sometimes it feels like it's taking you away from where you want to be. But I found that in a lot of ways, actually take me directly where I need to be. And so it's really all about looking at what your needs are and doing the assessments, financial, emotional, physical, and seeing how best you can adapt to what is happening and what your needs are.
Great. Well, I see Sharian nodding. So it seems like, that kind of represented a little bit what she says. And yes, change is scary. Sharian, Roberta, there's a question for you when you speak about what really works with your partner sisters or your partners in terms of this pivoting. Is it possible to get everybody to pivot at the same time? I think is really an important issue. But Sharian, do you want to jump in while Roberta thinks about that? Or Roberta, you ready?
Yeah, no, I had to find my mute.
Sure.
I'm very excited about our partnership because it is one where we have great respect for each other. We do not have any dominating personalities who feel that everything has to be done their way. And so when changes have to be made, we all discuss it and we work it out. If somebody still has a little problem, we just iron everything out until we get to the point where we all agree. So that it's extremely important in a partnership where that you have to have personalities who are willing to give and take, respect each other. Sometimes it's not always your choice, but you go along with the group, and that's extremely important.
Thank you very much, Roberta. Sharian?
Okay, hi guys. I think during this time too, it's really important too that we rely on, as she said, partnerships. It may not be persons that are immediately involved in your organization, but there are persons with other organizations, like Dr. Brandon, for example. Many times during the episodes of COVID, I would be able to call her and say, Doc, what do you think about this? So it was critical too to have persons that are mentors to be able to guide you through a lot of the things, because COVID was unfamiliar to all of us, and having organizations like the BIBC, but you can pick up the phone and you can call these guys and ask them, what do you think about this? How should I do this? How should I approach this? And taking those steps outside of your box. Because, sometimes we think this is as far as we can see, but the box goes all the way down. And it's critical that we say during this time, I cannot be afraid. I have to go forward. I have to make it. I will make it. And you make it.
Great. Thank you, Sharian. Samantha? You got the last word.
Thank you.
Literally.
Definitely during this pandemic in pivoting, as a leader, you have to now open yourself and make yourself vulnerable. It's important to make yourself vulnerable, but have a good support system around you. Have mentors and coaches. Like I can call or message Dr. Brandon and say, hey, at this point in time, I don't feel like I can make it anymore. I can do this. What you think about this? How do I go about doing this budget? Can you review this for me? And those moments, I'm feeling very much vulnerable. I'm going through the process and I'm accepting the process. But it's important to have people around you that can support you during this process, because this is an important process as business leaders we need to go through. And I'm sure most of you know what we're talking about. And in coming up with different kind of innovation and all of this, it's uncomfortable, but it's important that you have people around you and they're there to support you and they're there to guide you and push you further.
Thank you, Samantha. I think this is a beautiful point to end off on, that really, as going back to Mr. Patterson, assets are yourselves, but they're also your network. And that, yes, sometimes we think that people might be liabilities, but in many cases, there actually are some of our strongest assets, particularly in times of challenge and when we need to adapt. Thank you very much. It was a complete pleasure to be able to share this space with you. I hope that we were able to at least touch on some of the questions. Thank you again for the opportunity, Dr. John and Dr. Brandon. And thank you so much, ladies, again for the inspiration. Over to Dr. John again. Thank you so much.